You have one unheard message.
Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Jenny.
I need some help.
You'll never believe what they said to me.
Help me, Jenny. Help me, Jenny.
Hi, it's Jenny, modern day etiquette expert. I'm here to help. All of your awkward encounters, uncomfortable boundaries, and questionable social interactions are welcome here. We can navigate them together with warmth, empathy, and curiosity because Jenny says so. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to Jenny Says So. We're so glad that you're here today. Let's get to the question. Today we have a question about hostess gifts, which is a tricky one. Maybe we shouldn't even call them hostess gifts. Maybe we should just call them guest gifts. Maybe we need to work on rebranding that, actually. So let's get to the question, and then I can pontificate on rebranding hostess gifts.
You have one unheard message.
Hi, Jenny. I have a question about gifts for you. What is your take on bringing gifts to someone's house when you go over? Housewarming, hanging out, coming to visit, parties, etc. Do you bring a gift? If so, what do you bring? How do you determine when it's appropriate or not? Is it different based on who it is? For example, friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, acquaintances, or strangers? I didn't grow up in a house with much gift giving, so I always felt like I never learned the rules around that stuff. Any help would be appreciated. Signed, Guilt About Gifts in Georgia.
Okay, so I love this question because it gets into so many things of like how we were raised versus how other people were raised and the expectations that we carry with us and that we carry into other people's homes and the expectations we might not know that we're confronting when we enter somebody else's home. And I think that what this question asks is almost actually two different questions because there is I believe that there is a different expectation for a gift, a guest gift is what we're calling them now. When you enter somebody's home as a guest for a party or a housewarming versus when you just go over to hang out with a friend. And then I think that you get into the minutia of what those gifts are based on how well you know the person. But I think it's nice to try to remember, especially if you're going for a party or an event or something like that. It's nice to try to remember to bring something. I was just having this conversation recently with somebody. They were saying that they often bring gifts and they're sometimes surprised that other people don't reciprocate. And I said, I think it's so interesting because I like to think of myself as a person that always brings a gift or an offering. But I'm also often really overwhelmed and confused about where I'm going when I arrive someplace or when I go to a party. I remember once I was going to meet my friend Dina out in the Hamptons. She had invited me so generously. I'd just broken up with my ex-boyfriend and she had invited me to come spend the weekend with her. And I had this idea in my head that I was going to drive out to the Hamptons and I was going to find some perfect little gift shop and I was going to get the perfect guest gift. And then I got out there and there was just nothing that was really right. And so I often find myself in situations like that, which is tricky because you want to show up with something in hand, but it doesn't always go to plan. So I just want to give grace for everybody in the situation that sometimes it doesn't go to plan. We try our best. And if we feel uncomfortable or we really had the best intentions, we can always express that, right? Oh my gosh, I really wanted to grab you something, but I just got overwhelmed and the time slipped away from me and I couldn't find a place. That's also a nice thing to say. I think that there's different levels based on who you are gifting for. I think when you are going to a party, you can always ask the host or hostess, is there anything I can bring ahead of time? If they say genuinely no and you know them enough to believe them and to know that they are being honest with you, don't bring anything. It's okay. They've got it, right? If you have something for them, I often collect little things for my friends when I travel or whatever, and I'll show up with that. That's also lovely, but you do not have to feel compelled. I think part of the agreement of hosting is that the hosts will take care of you in a certain aspect, right? In the aspect of the party within the boundaries of that event. And I think it is okay to lean into other people taking care of you. I think that's okay to say I am allowing myself to be taken care of and supported in this space. And when I invite them to my house, I will take care of them and support them in that space. But that being said, I think tapping into what you know about these people is always lovely. If you know that somebody's gluten-free, don't bring them a cake with gluten in it. But if you know that somebody's gluten-free, you could bring them a plant if they're into plants, right? Or you could bring them a gluten-free cake. Trying to tap into what you know about them is always, right, that always does well. If you know that somebody is sober, don't bring them wine. But if you know that they love wine, that's a great gift. I thought about this a lot this morning when I was thinking about this podcast episode. I think that if you don't know somebody, if it's kind of an acquaintance or a stranger and you don't really know what to bring them and you do feel compelled, you do feel it's the right situation, like it's a housewarming or it's an event where you do not want to show up empty-handed, a thing that's packaged that they can regift, even though that sounds a little chintzy, is also a really nice idea. Like getting them a package, like a box, candles that are wrapped up or something that they can be like, thank you, and then put it in a closet and bring it someplace else. That's actually not as ungenerous as one might think because it relieves them someplace else. So it is still a gift. I also think that there is a really solid argument for showing up with a gift because it can be awkward to show up with nothing in your hands. And a gift is something to walk in and look at and sort of start conversation about. So I was recently talking to somebody that said that they feel much more comfortable walking in with something in their arms because they don't always know how to greet people. But when you have something in your arms to give somebody, that's just a great way. So I think thinking about things that people use in their homes and again, tapping into your knowledge of them, I always, if you can bring a dessert that you know that somebody likes or you know that they can eat or you're happy to share with people or that you're excited about, right? Like you're like, I just found the best bakery. I just discovered personally this thing called Bostocks, which are the ends of croissants that they then cover in like a cookie and bake. It's incredibly decadent. And I would love to bring those to any party if somebody would like to invite me to one. So desserts, fancy coffees, because most people serve coffee at the end of a party or, most people drink coffee. Again, if you know somebody doesn't drink coffee, don't bring that. Tap into what you know about them. Wine, if they are drinkers of wine, alcohol-free wine. A lot of people are enjoying alcohol-free wine, alcohol-free spirits now. That's also a great gift. Mixers, fancy mixers are wonderful because even if they don't drink, they can still enjoy them. Fancy olive oils, vinegars, things like that. I love this one, a low maintenance plant, which I received once from my friend Maria, and I loved. It died when I left my apartment. My ex didn't take care of it, but I would love a low maintenance plant because I'd like to get into plants. And this is my bid for if anybody would like to give me a low maintenance plant. I would like to get some plants in my house, but I do not have the energy to go buy one. And then I think candles are a lovely one. We eat dinner by candlelight every night. So if somebody brought me a box of tapered candles, I would love that. Or if somebody's into scented candles, you can bring them those too. Lots of people are into candles. And again, a candle is a great thing that if you don't know what to get somebody, they can regift it or they can donate it. I mean, it's hard because we don't want to give people stuff that they're not going to use, which is why all of these things that are consumable are really lovely because they will eat them. They will get used, consumed, hopefully. And then again, something packaged that they can regift, pot holders, tea towels, things like that, trivets, coasters, things that aren't going to go bad that people can put in a closet if they do not want them and they can reuse as another gift, I think is lovely. I think essentially what we're talking about here, though, is I was raised in a way, the general I was raised in a way that was not how everybody else was raised. And also when we move states or when we move countries, there can be different expectations around gift giving and hosting and things like that. And it can be really awkward to know how to get it right. And so I don't think we can expect ourselves to get it right. I think that's the thing that we have to release is the expectation that we're going to get it right always with everybody. And I think that when we invest in community and villages that are authentic to us and that hold us and want to support us, we're able to say, I hope I got it right. I don't always get it right. I wasn't raised in this sort of community, or I was raised giving a gift, and apparently that wasn't the right thing to do. Or I was raised bringing a dessert, but now apparently I've offended your grandmother. Just being able to talk about these things. And I think that one of my central tenets is that when you invest in people emotionally, you have to assume that they mean the best. And if you can't assume that the people in your community that you've surrounded yourself with mean the best, then that's not a safe place for you to be. and that you might need to investigate why and have conversations or find new community. Because if somebody came to my house and didn't bring a gift, I'm still going to assume that they mean the best, right? Even if that's part of the culture that I grew up with, which it's not super part of the culture I grew up. If somebody did something that was out of my social norms, out of the mores that I grew up with, that I was raised with, or that I've invested in as an adult, I still want to believe that those people mean the best. Otherwise, I don't feel safe having them in my community. So I think generally having conversations, being authentic, and if you can, like, show up with dessert in hand. I don't think dessert is ever rejected. I think it's always, somebody's always excited to see some sort of sweet on the table. So that's what I've got to say about that. And again, this is a shameless plug for myself. If you want to bring me a plant, I will happily accept it and try not to kill it. Thank you so much for Guilt About Gifts in Georgia for writing in. We appreciate you. I'm so proud of you for asking and for trying to engage in these sort of like awkward social norms. Thanks for tuning in to Jenny Says So. Remember, setting boundaries and practicing modern etiquette isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up with kindness, respect, and authenticity in every interaction. Keep practicing, keep learning. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself when needed, and never forget, no is a complete sentence. Do you have a question you need a little help with? Head to freshstartsregistry.com/JennySaysSo and ask away. All questions are anonymous, and I'm here to help.